Hello and welcome back. That is really weird. Nom nom nom. So back to making a physics engine. Nom 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 nom. Too much chocolate. Where'd it go? Eric and I'm already on it. And I think there's one other thing. I guess that's good enough to relate to the chat thing. Although, where'd the D-Live thing go? Why can't I do stuff? What's going on? D-Live has updated itself, but it doesn't have the chat thing on the side now. Or whatever. Should probably get my one up somewhere. What was I using for that? Is it on the other browser? Whatever. Oh, no, that's my text editor. That's the other thing I wanted to get. And I'm pretty sure I had a chat up somewhere. Ah, whatever, I can just see the individual places. Really do. Okay. So, I think I got this line damp thing working. That took forever. I haven't been on for like a week or so. Been doing not really anything. Game Satisfactory came out. We played that a whole lot. Moved along my sleeping time a whole lot, which is why I'm back to my nighttime side. Basically skipped my entire daytime side, so that sort of sucks. And it just got really, really hot again. It was definitely in the 34 degrees the other day. Absolutely terrible. But anyway, as we can see here, I think I finally got this damn thing working. I've been trying not to look at it too closely because I'm sure there's probably more bugs around the place. There is many things I had to do to this which are just absolutely terrible, and I hate them very much. This should not have been anywhere near this complicated. I'm going to let that one slide. That was technically a bit of a problem there, but no, let's just let it slide. So yeah, I got it working, and I had that problem where it was going back by one. Sometimes this first one wasn't there. And then if I moved it so it was offset by a certain amount into a tile rather than being exactly on the intersection, I had a lot more problems. And then I had it spinning around, and when it was doing that sort of an angle, these bluer ones would be down by a tile. And yeah. So it turned out that my offset math was wrong. Because I had those two offset variable thingies, the offset and offset steps or whatever, and if I used one, I had to use the other one for the other axes thing. Apparently they were just wrong. I wasn't using step or something, I was using something different before, I was using size, offset, I don't know. I was using some sort of a variable which was completely wrong. And yet it worked, or it appeared to work, but it was ever so slightly off under the correct conditions to be ever so slightly off, or the wrong conditions, which made it ever so slightly off. Anyway, whichever way you want to look at it. I also inverted it, so instead of it saying how much offset from 0 it is, so if it was in the tile, it would be offset by X, offset by Y, instead of how much it's not offset by, so it would be the other side. So if it was like 40% in, instead of saying 40%, it's saying 60% out, or whatever. And then I had to reverse all of my code. So I had to go through, basically, recode everything to be inverted. So instead of how many steps away from the start, it's how many steps back from the end. And that's fixed the problem with it showing like a random tile in one condition in particular. That one, like a little bit earlier than that, but there would be like this tile way out here, which would be like out here, then over here, and then correct. That fixed that one. And then the other problem was when I tried to fix that one, it ended up coming out the other side, so it would be showing this tile being, well, actually, it'd probably be like that tile being lit up or something. Bit of gap. Anyway, so I fixed that by reversing the whole thing. And then the next problem I got is if I was only using positive space for everything. So if I tried to use negative space, so saying that the starting point was negative whatever instead of positive positive, everything went chaotic and haywire again. And that's because I got confused about spaces. This grid is not my normal grid. This grid is not screen space. It is world space sort of thing, and I was treating it as if it was screen space. So this would be negative up, positive down, negative left, positive right. That is wrong. This is positive right, positive up, negative back, negative down. So this quadrant or whatever would be negative negative, and this one's positive positive. I kept getting that confused, so I was basically showing tiles the opposite way around. So, actually that's the one that fixed this problem. So, because it was backwards, when it was in this tile, it thought it was in, well, it would be in that tile here at the moment, as it currently is. When it was in this tile, it was reversing it to that tile because it thought that this was 0 up here, so 1 would be below it. So it would be 1 tile further down. And then that became even more chaotic when it was all negative stuff, so I had to recode all of that. Yeah, so I spent a very large amount of time over the last couple of days. Well, actually, not really that much large amount of time. I probably could have done this in, like, a single stream, but it was broken up. It was, like, a lot more time. Or maybe it was a lot more time, I don't know. So, yeah, that was a thing. I think I got it all fixed up now, and the other problem was, like, the starting tile. I feel like there's a better way I could do that one, but if it's positive positive, I'm just adding this tile here manually, unless it's at 0, 0 coordinates, like exactly on the intersection of tiles. Which could be a problem because I have it exactly on both axes, which maybe one or the other will have a problem, but whatever. Yeah. Extraordinarily unlikely to ever be in that sort of a situation where it's exact location on the corners of tiles, unless I was to do something like snapping or something, I don't know. So I'm just not going to worry about that problem until I get to it, because this entire thing is a massive mess. There are many, many, many problems here. Like, things that should definitely be optimized. I shouldn't need this whole section here, these loops within conditions junk. I've only done it that way because that means the loops themselves don't actually have any conditions within it. It's just simply get math, do math. All conditions for what that math should be do are done beforehand, so it's a whole lot more optimized. Looking to the side too much, it's messing up my neck. Giving myself scoliosis or whatever. Maybe if I just turn sideways a bit more. So, yeah. I don't know, massive amounts of recoding for this whole thing. It seems to be working, as I said. And if I get rid of all of the debugging stuff and the visualization-y thingies, the performance isn't actually that bad. I was messing around with the whole thing. I recoded how I was doing testing, so I could just simply offset locations of the line rather than just start and the endpoint separately. I also created a simple testing function that just drew X amount of lines within random sizes. So anywhere between -10 to +10 on the grid, there would be a line. Just a random number between that and that, which actually is solid numbers. I didn't have floats with that, did I? Well, I guess I didn't have the problem, so maybe that exact location thing isn't a problem. Although it's a bit weird because when you try to round stuff, it sometimes adds in decimal points, which makes it not exactly equal to 0. Or 1 is the case may be, because I inverted the whole thing. Yeah. So, yeah, I just had it spamming a whole lot of lines every single frame. And it seems to be working pretty good. I could have like 800 of these things going at once, I think it was, and then it starts using like exponentially more performance for some reason. It was a bit weird. I don't quite understand that. But yeah, I just had it like drawing just random lines on the screen and then trying to fill in the tiles that it was overlapping in. And everything looked perfectly fine. It seems to be running perfect now. Hello, post who just joined. Feel free to ask questions if you want to know what's going on. Oh yeah, I also found out I can do this fun thing. It's better keep the time just messing around with that. Boop. Makes this cool pattern, especially if I make it bigger. I'm not sure why it's all red. That's just what it does. Or I know why it's all red, but I'm not sure why it's not entirely all red, which is a bit weird. But if I make the line longer... That's probably too long. Having the visualizer on, like, makes the performance crazy. Yeah. It's got a bit of a skip here. I'm assuming, not entirely sure, but I'm hoping that's not a problem with the code. I'm hoping it's just because to move from that tile to this tile, it just skips straight over it because it's moving too fast. But it does this really cool thing here, which I have no clue why. I don't know how well that's going to show on the stream. But it's got this crazy pattern that it does. Like these arching, like, red, blue curve things. I sort of understand why that is. I had like a whole series of stuff I did one time where I actually took a whole lot of advantage of these sort of patterns and created this thing that I call chaotic noise, which I want to show off now. I wonder how I'd even find that thing. It's on that GIF site. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, basically it's just the way that rings look. Like if you had a lot of really small rings, much smaller than this tile size, and then you try to average them out to be in the tile size, it does this chaotic, random noise. The smaller the circles, the more random the noise looks. But then as they become more spread out or less smaller, more bigger, it eventually just turns into straight up rings. It's really cool. As I called it chaotic noise. And then I added a bit of randomness to it, so it's like, it just literally looks like the screen is just covered in random pixels. And then the longer it plays, the more organized the chaos becomes. It's pretty cool. Chaotic order, I called it. Yeah, I was trying to do heat simulations. Anyway, so that's that. This seems to be working. So, on to the next step, which is why I renamed the stream back to making a physics engine. Because now that this is working, I should be able to more optimally, hopefully, maybe, I'm really hoping. Oh, that's weird. Looking at the red screen, then I looked at my blue keyboard, and it looked white. Yeah, I should be able to more optimally get collision detection going, which I don't even have going at the moment, so anything's more optimal than nothing. Be able to figure out the exact time and space that a collision happens, regardless of speed. And things. So I've been thinking about that a whole lot. I think I'm going to go with a simplified version, because I was going to just go all out and do polygon collisions. Straight up mesh collisions, which is really heavy and expensive because you've got to check every single exterior edge to see if it had a collision. And that means running this thing a whole lot, and also a whole lot of other math. So I think I'm going to simplify it and just go straight up with circle collisions.